Welcome to Eye Contact. I'm Paul Rosen, and today I'm very pleased to be speaking to renowned British surgeon and former ESCRS President, Professor David Spalton, about his life in ophthalmology. David, welcome.
Thank you.
Could I start off by asking you what made you interested in ophthalmology and why did you become an ophthalmologist?
Yes, it was quite a long time ago, Paul. When I was a medical student, I actually picked up the eye prize more by luck than anything else as an undergraduate. So that gave me some inkling of what ophthalmology was about. And then in those days, after you qualified, you did a year as a houseman, 6 months general surgery, 6 months general medicine, and I did those. And I decided I wanted to stay in hospital medicine. I wanted to do surgery. I did some orthopedics and all these sort of things, but out of it all, ophthalmology seemed to be the thing that interested me most and took my interest.
And you've worked with some of the real innovators of the times. Is there anyone that was a particular mentor or really enthused you?
I think I've been extremely lucky, really. I was lucky to get, in those days, the major thing was to get onto the Moorfields training program. When I did that in the 1970s, Moorfields only had 12 consultant surgeons. So you work very much in an apprenticeship scheme with people and very close contact with the big names of the time. And that was really interesting. You really felt that you were at the heart of things there. Thinking of the people who really helped me, Barry J was one of the surgeons who actually sort of sponsored me to get onto the House of Moorfields and was a very helpful person in the early days of getting onto my career. And then when I finished my residence training, I did another sort of fellowship at St Thomas's with Mike Sanders. And I think anyone who worked with Mike had a very strong influence on the rest of their life, really.
In what way?
Well, Mike was very much, I think he was enthusiastic, he was given to scientific process and thought, he was given to knowing what the literature had said beforehand and that sort of thing. So that was neuro-ophthalmology, but it's a bit like learning Latin at school. Neuro-ophthalmology, I think, is a very helpful basis for future interest in academic life, really.
I mean, you started your consultant career as a neuro-ophthalmologist.
Yes, I did.
And you transitioned to a world expert in cataract surgery. So how did that happen?
Well, that was, you know, so neuro-ophthalmology sort of changed in those days. It was, one of the reasons I was fortunate was, before I went into medicine, I did what was called the MRCP, which is the, in Britain, as you know, you have the Fellowship of the College of Surgeons, Fellowship of the College of Physicians, and so I picked up dual qualifications there. So in some ways, neuro-ophthalmology fitted in with that. But then MRI scanning came in, and actually, the neuro-ophthalmology sort of lost its heart. You just looked at the scan, really. I became interested in uveitis and inflammation, and then I had a patient who bought me a laser cell flare meter to measure, quantify inflammation in the eye. And in those days, extracapsular surgery inflammation was a problem. And we did some work with a laser flare meter in the early days. And that took me into cataract surgery. And actually, I've enjoyed it.
Well, I think we can tell.
It was a good choice.
It was a very good choice.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen some technologies that have come and gone, and some are quite wacky. Do you think you could have predicted at the time, that, or can predict at the time, which technology will succeed and which won't? And have we learnt anything from the ones that don't?
Well, I suppose we have. I think it's difficult. These things all come in. I think it's quite difficult to know sometimes where they're going, because things tend to come in with a lot of hype, and then the enthusiasm drops off, and then they pick up again as it goes on. And we talked about multifocal lenses. They came in as the answer, they weren't the answer, but over the years they've got better and better. And I think a lot of things have been like that, really. I think one of the amazing things is, you always think, can it get any better? I remember the days of intracapsular surgery, and people said, look, this is wonderful, it can't get any better. This is the epitome of surgical excellence, and of course, it's gone.
Okay, So have we reached our peak now, or what is the next great step forward?
I think the fertility of human imagination is always there, and I think it's amazing. Where are we going in the future? I think there's a number of avenues where we're going. I think at some stage we'll get more towards robotic surgery. I think really that's probably 10 years away. But actually, the femto laser, although it's become a little bit sort of quiescent at the moment, it is as good as the human hand at making incisions. And so I think that's the sort of start of, perhaps we'll be seen leading on to robotic surgery for our successors, not for us.
No. What advice would you give to young ophthalmologists starting off?
Oh, I think all sorts of things. I think from the surgical point of view, video all your surgery and watch it, which is painful. You realise how much time you waste, how you could do things better. I used to spend Saturday afternoons watching my videos, so I would do that. I think the other thing is you have to get the idea that ophthalmology is not a 9-to-5 specialty. Reading around the subject, delving into it more deeply. And if people are doing research, I expect them to have a commitment to evenings and weekends. I think attending meetings is very important, and watching people, because every time you watch a surgeon, you learn something different. Even if it's how they drape the patient better or how they do something, there's always something to learn. I've always enjoyed watching surgery, and every time you pick up a little bit that helps you.
Okay. Perhaps I can ask you about what happens to people at the other end of their careers as they're approaching retirement. Have you got any advice for them?
Yes, well, I have retired from clinical practice, and I think you need to think about it and have something to do. I'm not a person who wants to go off and just mow the lawn. So I think one adapts one's career. At the time, there comes a time when all of us have to, move on in life. But you move on and you do something else. There's lots of useful things you can do.
You've had an extraordinarily successful career. What do you think the secret of success has been?
Oh, Paul, my goodness knows. I've been very fortunate in that I married a lady who was very supportive, and I think that I was very lucky there that having a stable home background really helps. Catherine's been very supportive of my career and looking after things, so that's been helpful. But I think I've just enjoyed the thrill of the chase of feeling that research is always very exciting, and you're putting something into it and you never quite know where it's going to lead. I mean, we started looking at posterior capsular plastification, which was a sort of, no sort of consequence of cataract surgery. It was accepted that you couldn't do anything about it. And then suddenly, new lenses come in, new things, and it changes. And we were lucky to be part of that.
David, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. And thank you for joining us. And for more information, please visit us at eurotimes.org.